Hare Krishna, and welcome to another class in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But I'm not sure if I am live. I am going live, so I gotta check. Yeah, I am. So, just a second. Okay. So we are going to talk about chapter 4 of Chaitanya Charitamrita the Lila, part 2. I will share again the screen so you can follow the text. Today is going to be a spontaneous presentation because somehow I didn't have time to prepare very well, which is not good because this chapter 4 for me is like talking about the most exalted topics in Bhakti Yoga, which actually only self-realized souls, pure devotees understand. So for us is just to listen about them and by mercy of Krishna, try to understand them. Because, the reason for it is that the highest conception of love of God, we tend to compare to our perception of love in this material world. It has some similarities externally, but internally not. So that's why I pray for blessings of the teachers, of my teachers, and of the teachers of the disciplic succession, that I can say something meaningful and understandable to you. And before I start, I will also sing a prayer for the blessings, which is also always sang at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. So we need the blessings of these exalted personalities to say something that can benefit us and others who are listening. So I hope you can hear me well. Now I will share my screen so you can see the text on which we stopped. Okay. So, it's my Srimad Bhagavatam class. So this is where we stopped last time. And we said so many things. I think that from the beginning of the lectures on Chaitanya Charitamrita, we said so many things, and so many things must be said because so many things are mentioned. And these are the highest topics of Bhakti Yoga that we can encounter. And I will repeat again. So when we start to study the science of Bhakti Yoga, we start with the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita introduces us into spiritual life because we understand who we are as jivas, who is God as Ishvara, what is this world, and this world is considered as material nature, which in Sanskrit term is called Prakriti. And then we perform certain activities in this world, which are called karma, and everything is happening under the influence of time, which is called in Sanskrit kala. So we need time, to perform activities. So these 5 topics are the topics of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, we learn actually how to act in this world and what is this world made of, and actually what are the laws under which this world functions, and where is our role in it, and who is God when we talk about this world. So, and it's also instructions on how to act in this world. And we get to know Krishna and his very dear friend Arjuna. And these are some of the basic principles we encounter. And then we must go deeper in the understanding of Bhakti Yoga by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, where we get the knowledge of how devotional service is performed. We get the examples of devotees who perform devotional service. We see the examples of relationships which these devotees establish with God. So in that sense, it inspires us. It also makes us see how small we are, because it also describes the creation of this material universe. It shows who is our second teacher, because the first teacher is Krishna, who is the second teacher, but the first teacher in the material world, that is Lord Brahma, and how this knowledge was carried through the disciplic succession. We also learned about Krishna when he descends on this earth. This is explained in Canto 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Srimad Bhagavatam actually ends by concluding that the highest religious principle in this age of Kali, where we are now living, is to chant the holy names of the Lord. And even though Krishna, he gave the principles of religion in the Bhagavad Gita, and he told us to follow them and to surrender unto him, he realized that that's not very easy. And especially he mentioned, which is mentioned here in the Caitanya Charitamrita, how he might have given a process of worship of him to the spirit souls who are in the material world, but he didn't give the highest mellows of love of Godhead, which can be found only in Vrindavan, which is situated in the topmost planet in the spiritual world, in Krishna Loka, where the most intimate pastimes of the Lord are going on. So basically, Caitanya Charitamrita talks about how to practically gain entrance in such relationships. And it is a scripture in which we follow the life of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who by his example and practice showed us how to chant the holy names of the Lord. And by his example, he manifested, actually, he made us see what is the result of this chanting. So what we're doing now, we are discussing the reasons why Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world. In chapter 3, we discussed what are the external reasons why he appeared. These external reasons will be mentioned here as well. But in this chapter 4 that we are discussing specifically now, we're talking about the internal reasons. And what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was explaining until now is that there are internal and external reasons why the Lord appears. And then he gave an example of external and internal reasons of why Lord Krishna appeared. He said in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to annihilate the miscreants and to save the sadhus or his devotees and to establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So these are the reasons like why he appears, and these are the external reasons. But there is also an internal reason why Lord appears as Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. And this is something that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions in these verses. He says that he actually appeared not to annihilate the demons, because that's what his expansion as Vishnu does. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, which means the origin of all incarnations. He appears only to enjoy. And how does he enjoy? He enjoys through the relationships that he establishes in with the residents of Vrindavan. So therefore, he comes geographically in India, on this planet Earth, in a place called Vrindavan, which is not different from Vrindavan in the spiritual world. And there he manifests his pastimes and he enjoys with his associates. So why is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami actually talking about Lord Krishna now in Caitanya Charitamrita? What does that have to do with Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu? Well, we established in chapter 2 of Caitanya Charitamrita how Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is that same Lord Krishna that appeared 5,000 years ago. So if they are the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also act in a similar way. So just as Krishna has external and internal reasons why he appears 5,000 years ago in this example, so it will be explain later on in the verses how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also has external and internal reasons why he appears. And these internal reasons that Lord Krishna has, why he appears 5,000 years ago, why he enjoys, are very, very much connected with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's very much connected, like with his internal reasons. So he said that it was explained here in these verses that we studied 2 weeks ago, how Lord Krishna actually is not so much attracted when people worship him with awe and reverence, because that doesn't bring him so much pleasure, and it doesn't induce in him a desire that he wants to submit himself to such a devotee, that he wants to become subordinate or equal to such a devotee. And to become subordinate and equal to a certain devotee is what Krishna enjoys the most. And we will see why and how. And this explanation of it will start with these verses here. So we are now at verses 21 and 22 of chapter 4. So here, types of the bhakti will be explained. But let's read first the verse. If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. So in this verse, what Krishna does is explain what he enjoys the most. And then he will explain which are the four relationships which are considered the highest, which give him the most pleasure in the spiritual world and in the material world when he comes. So he likes when someone thinks of him as his son. So that's a vatsalya rasa, or a rasa or relationship of parenthood. He likes when someone thinks of him as his friend, because friendship presumes that we are equal. So equalness is between friends. So he likes this kind of relationships. And this is a sakya rasa, or the relationship of friendships. He also likes when someone thinks of him as his beloved. This refers to Madhurya Rasa, which is of two kinds, which means that there is relationship with Krishna, in the sense that a person with whom Krishna is in relationship is in like a marriage relationship, and the other one is the lover's relationship, which is considered the highest. So these relationships are what Krishna enjoys the most. And Srila Prabhupada in this purport explains, which is very nice purport, how actually one can establish such a relationship with the Lord. And then he divides Bhakti Yoga, or practice of Krishna consciousness, or practice of devotional service, into three categories. He calls them Bhakti, or ordinary devotional service, Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, and Vida Bhakti, mixed devotional service. What he will explain first is the mixed one. So the mixed means we are performing certain activities towards Krishna, we are coming to him for shelter, we are worshiping him, but our motivation is not pure. We are not doing it out of selfless love towards him, but we have some material purpose. So Srila Prabhupada explains, when devotional service is executed with some material purpose involving fruitive activities, which means that I really want some result. So I don't know, I want to be very successful in selling in selling, I don't know, Prabhupada's books, for example, or something else. So therefore, I pray to Krishna to make me successful. But maybe my motivation is not just to love and please Krishna and to actually see him as the controller and leave the results to him. I actually want to be very famous and known as a great book distributor or sailor or whatever. So I want some respect. So that's a material motivation, for example, why I perform certain activity in devotional service. Then we have mental speculation, which we want satisfaction for our intelligence in the sense of knowing something or be recognized by something, by someone, again, through knowing the philosophy. And then we have mystic yoga, which means that if I perform certain activities to Krishna devotional service, I would like to actually gain some mystic perfection. I would like to be very powerful in some sense. So that's also considered a material purpose. And Srila Prabhupada calls this kind of devotional service as mixed or adulterated. Just a second. I hope I'm loud enough, but let's see. So then Srila Prabhupada says that Bhagavad Gita anyway gives examples of such mixed devotional service because it describes karma yoga, jnana yoga, and dhyana yoga. So if you study Bhagavad Gita, then you will understand and you will be given knowledge about various types of devotional services. Some are pure, some are mixed because there is a certain material motivation, but they're all good because in the end, if the person pursues them, he or she will get purified. And then there will be a certain point in one's life where this person will start to perform pure devotional service. And what is pure devotional service will also be mentioned in this text if we will have enough time to talk about them, because I realized there's so many things to say, but not so much time. So but let's try our best. Okay, so this is like in short what Srila Prabhupada says in this purpose. And all these yogas, even though they are mixed, so as I said, they are recommended for persons so that they can come to the platform of pure devotional service. And then we have ordinary bhakti yoga. So it's quite interesting how Srila Prabhupada calls this type of devotional service ordinary bhakti. What is ordinary bhakti? It's actually performing our spiritual practice, our devotional service according to rules and regulations. And just a thought of rules and regulations brings the feelings of awe and reverence in us because we perform certain activity because we are afraid of this, we are afraid of that, or we have such a high respect of the Lord because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we want to please him. We cannot consider him more intimate than a person who is superior, so superior to us that we just serve him with respectfully, which is not bad, which is very nice. But when talking about the perfection of devotional service, this kind of performance of devotional service where there is only rules and regulations and that's how we follow and that's how we serve Krishna and we see him so superior, it is considered by Srila Prabhupada and by the Acharyas as ordinary. But then there is the third type of devotional service, which is called Shuddha Bhakti, which Krishna loves the most, because this type of bhakti is actually mentioned in this verse. So if one considers me as his son, as his friend, or as his beloved, then I'm very happy. I become subordinate to such person. I give myself to such person. I become, I don't know how to say it, sold. My heart is sold to such a person who gives such kind of love and who considers me in this way. So these are three types of bhakti. And what Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach the world is the Shuddha Bhakti, the highest bhakti. And Krishna said, we read it in the verses before, how it has been a long time. So Krishna was thinking, it has been such a long time since I awarded this kind of bhakti to the residents of this material world. So in order to give it to them, I I must come myself to teach them how to practice this kind of devotional service so that they can reach this kind of bhakti. So just to have an opportunity to practice devotional service in this way, and just to have an opportunity to have teachers who accomplished this kind of bhakti is great fortune for us. And this is what we are glorifying here. This is why we are glorifying Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So he gives the highest for free. All we have to do is have faith, as Lord Nityananda says. The only price we have to purchase, by which we can purchase this love, the price we have to pay is unflinching faith in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And then we will reach such prema. So here Srila Prabhupada says, just to again remind ourselves what is ordinary bhakti, flawless execution of regulative principles is exhibited in Vaikuntha planets. By strictly executing those principles, one can be elevated to Vaikuntha planets, but spontaneous, pure, loving service is found in Krishna Loka alone. And I will also talk about this aspect of following rules and regulations and what is actually spontaneous. I mean, I had a wrong conception of it, and I personally know that a lot of devotees and people who read these books, they have the wrong conception about what is actually considered to be a spontaneous loving service towards Krishna. Usually, they think that it means avoiding rules and regulations, but that is not so. So it has many other aspects. Okay. Then Krishna continues. Devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. O my dear damsels of Vraja, your affection for me is your good fortune, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. So we have to understand that first, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions a verse spoken by Krishna where he talks about the four rasas, actually the three rasas. The fourth one is servitorship towards Krishna, but it's not mentioned in that verse. So what are mentioned are the paternal relationship, the friendship relationship, and the lover relationship. So these are considered the highest. So he mentions all of them in the previous verse, but now he only speaks of the Madhurya rasa, or the relationship in conjugal love. So this is the highest one. And and this is actually what Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching, by example, how to gain it, and we will understand why soon. But he will also talk about other relationships. So first, he mentioned the gopis, which is the highest rasa, and how Krishna is so attracted to this kind of relationship with the gopis that there is no way he can repay them. He tells them, you can just be satisfied by your love towards me. There's nothing I can give you. Whatever I give you is not enough. So if you read the Canto 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis, you will be able to understand a little bit how much pure the love of gopis is towards Krishna, and how they are prepared to do anything for him, just to take care of him, protect him, and whatever. So the second category of one of the highest relationships that we can have with Krishna is the parental relationship. So what is mentioned here is that Krishna says, Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. So this is a profound verse because we are talking about Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan, the origin of everything that is created in the spiritual and material worlds. He's Kala, the all-devouring time, which destroys everything. The wind blows out of fear from Krishna. He's so many things. He's the biggest, he is the smallest, he is the strongest. He's Bhagavan. He possesses 6 opulences in full. He possesses qualities that no one has. But still, a devotee, in this case, Mother Yashoda, Mother sometimes bid me as her son. So there is someone in the relationship who is higher than this Lord Krishna. And she nourishes him who is self-satisfied, who doesn't need anything, from whom everything is created. She has a need to nourish Krishna. She has a need to protect Krishna. She thinks that Krishna is helpless. So this is the beauty of this relationship in parental affection towards Krishna. That's how the devotees who have this relationship towards Krishna feel, which is amazing. And it will be explained how this is possible. Then he's talking about the relationship of friendship. He says, my friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, what kind of a big man are you? You and I are equal. So the friends, they think that they're equal to Krishna. They think that they are stronger than Krishna, or maybe equally strong than Krishna. So even though we know that Lord is what he is, still they don't think in that way. And the reason why that is so is because they don't have the knowledge that Krishna is God. So Krishna puts he puts himself and them in ignorance of who they really are. And that's how the relationships in the spiritual world manifest. But this can only be possible with pure souls, who have like pure hearts and the exhibition of pure love towards Krishna. And then he also says that if my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. So I don't know, what comes to my mind is the relationship Lord Krishna has with Queen Rukmini. So he likes to have conversations with his queens in which he teases them or they tease him in a certain way. So for him, this kind of relationships, this kind of sweetness of conversation and whatever is going on between them is for his mind very satisfying. It's more satisfying than the recitation of the Vedas. So here Srila Prabhupada says, the informal language used between lover and beloved is indicative of pure affection. When devotees worship their beloved as the most venerable object, spontaneous loving sentiments are observed to be lacking. A neophyte devotee who follows the Vedic instructions that regulate those who lack pure love of Godhead may superficially seem more exalted than a devotee in spontaneous love of Godhead. But in fact, such spontaneous pure love is far superior to regulated devotional service. Such pure love of Godhead is always glorious in all respect, more so than reverential devotional service rendered by a less affectionate devotee. So this also points out that maybe like formality and offering respect to the Lord, and this can be seen, for instance, when we walk into the temple. The temple atmosphere is very much in the mood of rules and regulations. And in the temple, the Lord is worshipped as a king, and everyone knows that. And when we come to the temple, we have this awe and reverence. And we also highly praise the Brahmanas who are worshipping the deities because they do it in such a lovely way. They know how to chant all the mantras perfectly. They are so clean. Everything is like perfectly clean there. The deities are dressed in perfect, beautiful clothes. Everything is perfectly shining on them. The deities are shining. But then you have worship of the deity in one's home, where the deity is actually considered to be a member of the family, where there is not so much formality, awe and reverence. Maybe some families do have more awe and reverence, some have less, but the principle is that the deity in someone's home is worshipped as a family member. So I somehow, from the scriptures that we have read so far and from everything Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami quoted that Lord Krishna said, we can see that maybe if someone worships Lord Krishna at his home as a family member, Lord likes that better than when he is worshipped as a king, because there is more intimacy. Then Lord Krishna says, taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. So first Lord Krishna described all these relationships that he likes to enjoy. And he said like, well, awe and reverence is fine, but I really enjoy these relationships very much. And I like to exhibit them in the material world. Therefore, all these associates with whom I have this kind of relationships will come with me when I appear on this earth. And why do they come? So that he can deliver the sadhus. He delivers the sadhus by attracting them to his pastimes. That's one thing. I would actually say that he delivers the innocent spirit souls who somehow get his mercy, and somehow by certain activities that they performed in their life or previous lives, they got the taste, or by the association they got the taste to be attracted to Lord Krishna's pastimes. That's one thing. And the other thing, to deliver the sadhus. I don't know if it's Jiva Goswami or Srila Rupa Goswami who says that the sadhu doesn't have to be delivered. The sadhu is already delivered. But why Krishna comes? He doesn't come to deliver the sadhus. He comes to fulfill the desires of these sadhus, because the sadhu who meditates on Krishna, he meditates on having a certain relationship with Krishna. So when Lord Krishna descends with all his associates to perform certain pastimes, he actually descends to fulfill the desires of the sadhus who have the desire to establish a certain relationship with Lord Krishna. So he comes, for instance, with the gopis, but there are other gopis in the disguise of sadhus who also want to worship Krishna in this way. So they learn from these gopis how to establish this kind of relationship. The same is with the parental relationship, and the same is with friendship, and the same is with servitorship. So he comes to give them pleasure, actually. Okay, so the next verse. The influence of Yoga Maya will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. So this is the reason. Yoga Maya is the reason why the relationships are established in the way they are established. So Maya has two aspects. Maya, we call Maya like an illusion. It has two aspects. It is Mahamaya in the material world, and it is Yoga Maya in the spiritual world. But wherever Krishna comes and performs his pastimes, Yoga Maya automatically comes with him, because she inspires the associates of Krishna to perform certain pastimes and to have certain relationship with Krishna. So wherever is Krishna, there is Yoga Maya, because Krishna is never under the influence of the modes of material nature. He's never under the influence of material nature or Mahamaya. So Mahamaya transforms into Yoga Maya whenever Krishna is present. So Yoga Maya is the one. So I just wanted to say how illusion in the form of Mahamaya is bewildering the living entities in this material world to think that they are these material bodies, and that they have relationship with all these people that we actually do have relationship now due to our body, and that we think that we actually belong here and that we are matter. So this is what Mahamaya does, and it illusions the living entity here so that the living entity can fulfill the material desires that he had accumulated from lives and lives living in this material world. And in order for the living entity to pursue those desires, to fulfill those desires, Mahamaya has to keep them illusion. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, you will read with Sundarananda that Lord Brahma had to put the jivas in ignorance, because only if we are put in ignorance, we can actually live in this material world. Otherwise, we would want to go to the spiritual world. So it is the will of the creator, to the secondary creator, which is Lord Brahma, and the first creator, which is Lord Krishna, to put us in this kind of bewilderment. And therefore, his servant, Maya, Mahamaya, is here to put us in this kind of ignorance. And then we have Yoga Maya, which is another aspect of the same energy, potency, which is used to put the living entities in the spiritual world into illusion. And that's quite interesting. Especially, it puts into illusion Lord Krishna and the devotees in Vrindavan. Because by the influence of Yoga Maya, Lord Krishna and the associates of Rajabhumi, they lose themselves. They don't understand who they are. First of all, they don't have knowledge that Lord Krishna is God. And Lord Krishna also forgets that he's God in these relationships. So that's how the intimacy is created and the sweetness is created. And that's the use of Yoga Maya. And that's why he says that the influence of Yoga Maya will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. So this energy will bewilder the gopis in this way. They will forget that Lord Krishna is God. They will just think that he's their Krishna. That's it. And they love him. And that's all. Next verse. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this, for our minds will always be entranced by one another's beauty and qualities. So this is how he explained how Yoga Maya works. So we can read a little bit this purport. It's very nice by Srila Prabhupada. In the spiritual sky, the Vaikuntha planets are predominated by Narayana. His devotees have the same feature he does, and the exchange of devotion there is on the platform of reverence. So it is ordinary bhakti, which is quite funny because it's not ordinary. I mean, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is explained how the residents of Vaikuntha are very much exalted. And if you want to know more about them and who they are and what they do, you should read Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But then there is a hierarchy in the spiritual world, just in the sense of taste and intimacy and the mellow. So in that sense, it is said that, but above all this Vaikuntha planet is Goloka or Krishna Loka, where the original personality of Godhead Krishna fully manifests his pleasure potency in free loving affairs. Since the devotees in the material world know almost nothing about these affairs, the Lord desires to show these affairs to them. So just like we explained, so he wants to show them because either they don't know anything about them or they desire something because they know something about them. So he just comes so that he can fulfill their desires. In Goloka Vrindavan, there is an exchange of love known as Parakiya Rasa. It is something like the attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. In the material world, this sort of relationship is most abominable because it is a perverted reflection of the Parakiya Rasa in the spiritual world, where it is the highest kind of loving affair. Such feelings between the devotee and the Lord are presented by the influence of Yoga Maya. The Bhagavad Gita states that devotees of the highest grade are under the care of Daiva Maya or Yoga Maya. Mahatmanastu mamparta daivim prakritim ashritaha. Those who are actually great souls, Mahatmas, are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, always engaged in service of the Lord. They are under the care of the Daivi Prakriti or Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya creates a situation in which the devotee is prepared to transgress all regulative principles simply to love Krishna. A devotee naturally does not like to transgress the laws of reverence for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by the influence of Yoga Maya, he is prepared to do anything to love the Supreme Lord better. So I had a question and my phone is there, so it's not so, maybe I could, I don't know. The question was like, well, you know, I'm going to paraphrase it, and if I get it wrong, I'm also sorry, because I read that question like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, so I might not bring it in a full light of what the person wanted to say. But I mean, when we listen about these relationships that Krishna has, especially what Krishna has with the gopis or his wives, then we think, yeah, see how Krishna enjoys. Krishna also has gopis, and that's normal. I also have these needs. And yeah, that's true. But it's totally different. Has nothing to do with relationships with men and women in this world, or lovers in this world. Everything that is in this world is a perverted reflection of what is happening in the spiritual world. And it exists here because it exists in the spiritual world. But the principles of it are very similar, but not the same. When we have the situation of, for example, like Srila Prabhupada mentioned it here, like attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. If anyone had that experience, but it doesn't have to be that experience. It can be an experience where you were very much eager to have company of someone, but you never had. So it's like love from distance in a way. And especially when we were young, we experienced it in puberty. I mean, I don't know about guys, but girls are like, they fall in love and then 24 hours a day they think about the boy, especially like they're 12 or 13 years old. And then if the boy looks at them, then they're going to think about how the boy looked at them the whole day. So, but this is very innocent. So that's why I will give this example. So the point of it all is that the mind of the girl is absorbed in this boy. So in that sense, there is similarity, but it's not the same as in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, a gopi or a wife of Krishna is attracted very much to Krishna. And in the material world, when a girl looks at a boy, she doesn't think so much at this boy. She thinks only of herself, how she would like something, how she would like to be loved, how she would like to be pleased. Of course, there is an aspect of it where she would like to do something for the other because she has affection and so on. But usually it's because we want to feel good. We want to feel loved. We want to feel this. We want to feel that. But the gopi is not like that. She only wants what Krishna wants. She only does what Krishna finds it pleasing, enjoying in that sense. So there is no aspect of being immersed in something that we want. It's only immersion in what Krishna wants. And because of what Krishna wants, the gopis are prepared to break all the rules. And there is a nice example of it. Since Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to give him the best things. And there are certain rules and regulations on how to behave towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for example, when we come to the temple, we have to bathe our hands and feet according to the regulations. Now it's not so much possible the feet, but we have to be clean. But no one is thinking of like that maybe, I don't know, he should put his feet on the head of the deity, or something from his feet on the head of the deity. Why am I mentioning the deity? Because there's no difference between the deity, the Acha Vigraha of Krishna, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is just an example. This is an example of awe and reverence, how we treat the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when Krishna was sick, nothing could help him. He had a terrible headache, and nothing could cure his headache. And then I think a doctor or someone said that the only thing that can cure this headache is the dust of the feet of the devotees. If the dust of the feet of the devotees is put on the head of Lord Krishna, then he will be cured. Of course, all the people, or all the devotees who had the relationship of awe and reverence with Krishna said, no, I can't do that. And they also thought, like, if I do that, I will end up in hell. But the gopis, when the gopis heard that Krishna was sick, and that the only thing that could save him is the dust of the feet of his devotees, they immediately brought the dust. And they thought that they would rather go to hell than see Krishna suffer. So that's the love of the gopis. And that's something that's very rare and not very existing in the material world, that someone has such love towards someone else. But that doesn't minimize the love that exists in the material world. I'm just trying to emphasize that it's not the same. You cannot imagine it. We have unrealistic and wrong perception of love here anyways. Definitely it's not from the romantic movies, what the ladies always dream about. Yeah, it's totally different. And the love of men and women in this world, especially today in modern world, is based on bodily attraction. And this thing does not exist in the spiritual world. Even it's the way to reach ecstasy and enjoyment is also different. I mean, to be straightforward, in the material world, you need stimulation to get ecstasy, but in the spiritual world, just by pleasing Lord Krishna and Radharani, you get the ecstasy. And it is described that just by serving Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna, the gopis, they experience more ecstasy than the Lord Krishna and Radharani themselves. It is like an impulse that travels through all of the gopis, and it is something that can be only understood by realization. So it's very difficult to talk about these things. I mean, they're the highest, and especially difficult to maybe explain it to persons who didn't read Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, when we want to learn about the Lord, when we want to learn about all his associates, please do not skip to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just start from the beginning, because that's a process of purification of consciousness and intelligence. And therefore, with the reading, Srimad Bhagavatam, who is none different from Lord Krishna himself, will give us the blessings to enter into his most intimate pastimes. It's just needed to understand. Just like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are needed to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita. So everything has their own way. Of course, maybe some people are advanced, so they know everything. But to us who are not, we start from the beginning so we can understand. So we can understand actually the most intimate of relationships. I try to understand. Then Krishna says, pure attachment will unite us, even at the expense of moral and religious duties, dharma. Destiny will sometimes bring us together and sometimes separate us. So, when we talk about the gopis and Vrindavan, especially manifested Vrindavan on the earth, if we read in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam about how the society was constructed at that time, times it was a Vedic society, and it was very strict in their morals and so on. So it was very difficult for people to break the rules. And if they would break the rules, they would be like ostracized from the society. It would not, their life would become very, very hard. So everyone had to be very careful about the rules and regulations and etiquette. But the gopis, when they heard Krishna's flute, they would break all the rules. So that's like not considering oneself, like doing everything for Krishna, trying to please Krishna. Like that's the highest principles. And that's, I would like to connect it with the term of spontaneous devotional service. So in that sense, it transgresses the rules and regulations. So when there is something that Krishna needs, when Krishna calls, when there is something about Krishna, the gopis will do everything for him. So in that sense, it breaks the rules and regulations. But when we talk about performing devotional service, that's what I wanted to say and also emphasize. We think like that, well, these rules and regulations, they prevent me from exhibiting my emotions towards Krishna. But that's not true. Rules and regulations help us to control our senses, because when we start with Bhakti Yoga process, we are so much all over the place. Our mind is everywhere, our senses are everywhere. Not for all people, but most of the people. So we need rules and regulations because we need discipline. And when we discipline our senses, when we control our senses, when we control our mind, then we can better think of Krishna. And we can purify our hearts also with better chanting of the Maha Mantra. And then we can actually get these feelings of love for Krishna that make our service spontaneous. So it doesn't have to be inspired anymore by rules and regulation. It automatically comes. That actually means that devotees who are on the platform of spontaneous devotional service actually love to follow rules and regulations, and they want to follow rules and regulations. It brings them joy, it brings them satisfaction, because they know, for instance, that they're not this body. Second of all, they do this to please Krishna, and also they act on the platform of the soul. So I just wanted to emphasize for those who think that on the spontaneous platform, there are no rules and regulations. There are, but we follow them because we love to do it. So regardless of the 4 principles that we follow and that we vow to follow when we get initiated, and that is that we will take no intoxication, we will not indulge in illicit sex, we will not eat meat, fish, or eggs, and we will not gamble. We also follow certain rules and regulations by following morning program, by reciting certain prayers, and so on. By getting up early in the morning, by trying to follow certain sattvic rules of life, so that we can increase our consciousness, that we can make our consciousness come to a higher level. So at the beginning, it might be hard for us to do all these things, but when we come to this purified level of spontaneous service, we do it with joy. We want to do it. So I hope I explained it right. So yeah. The next verse, Krishna says, I shall taste the essence of all these rasas, and in this way I shall favor all the devotees. So this is something we already mentioned. He wants to taste the rasas and he wants to favor the devotees, whether by attracting them or fulfilling their desires. Then by hearing about the pure love of the residents of Raja, devotees will worship me on the path of spontaneous love, abandoning all rituals of religiosity and fruitive activity. So basically, to perform devotional service is to mainly hear about Krishna, which is Shravanam, and talk about Krishna, which is Kirtanam. And these are actually considered to be the best and the highest forms of worship of Krishna. And by only hearing and chanting, it's possible to reach the spontaneous path, the path of spontaneous love towards Krishna, not by performing rituals, which we sometimes do, for example, in the temple by worshiping the deities, or by performing fruitive activity. I mean, Ekadashi, for example, can be a devotional activity, but it can also be a fruitive activity. Because when you read about the benefits of Ekadashi that you're following, it says that if you do this or if you do that, then you will have, 7 sons, or you will go to heaven, or you won't be sick, or 10 generations of your family become liberated, and so on. So this is something aiming at the fruitive result, even though it's devotional and purifying in a way, but if it has the wrong motivation, it can become a fruitive activity. So this is just an example. And this is nice in the purport what Srila Prabhupada explains. He says that many realized souls, such as Raghunath Das Goswami and King Kulashikara, have recommended with great emphasis that one develop this spontaneous love of Godhead, even at the risk of transgressing all the traditional codes of morality and religiosity. And I was thinking, like, because I know that this chapter will take us a long time. I mean, it's impossible to go through these verses just like very quickly. So I will go a little bit deeper into this, because it shows us the way we should perform devotional service. And it also teaches us something that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught by his example. So just to go back to the purport. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, has written in his prayers called the Manak Shiksha that one should simply worship Radha and Krishna with all attention. Nadarmam Shruti Gana Nirkutam Kila Kuru. One should not be much interested in performing Vedic rituals or simply following rules and regulations. And then King Kulashekara has written similarly in his book Mukunda Mala Stotra. I have no attraction for performing religious rituals or holding any earthly kingdom. I do not care for sense enjoyments. Let them appear and disappear in accordance with my previous deeds. My only desire is to be fixed in devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord, even though I may continue to take birth here life after life. So this is quite beautiful. And this is what Krishna wants. He wants you to hear about the pure love of residents of Raja. And that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited. He exhibited it by either telling everyone about Krishna or listening about Krishna. And that's how we will gain the path of pure love. And one of his followers and successors was Raghunath Das Goswami. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport, and by this we will end the lecture for today, he wrote this beautiful prayer, which is called Manashiksha, or splendid instructions to the mind. Because our mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. If the mind thinks about Krishna and hears about Krishna and worships him on the path of spontaneous love, then he's our friend. If he doesn't do so, he's our greatest enemy. So to prevent the mind from being the greatest enemy, Raghunath Das Goswami wrote this beautiful poem, which I will read to you, so that you can try to find it if you like. It has a nice blessing at the end. You can find it in this book, Manashiksha, which is actually, it has commentaries of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of Urmila Devi Dasi, of Sachinandana Swami, or Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. So it's full of realizations of the great teachers and saints. And it's also very instructive. So let us hear. O dear brother, O mind, having given up all pride, please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment to Sri Guru, Sri Vrindavan, the abode of cows, to the devotee residents of Vrindavan, to all the devotees on this planet, to the confidential mantra given by Sri Guru, to the holy names of Sri Radha and Krishna, and to the process of surrendering to the fresh youthful couple of Raja, holding your feet, I beseech you with sweet words. So basically, he's telling to his mind, which he calls a brother, to what he should be attached to. First of all, it's always the teachers. You don't have to have an initiated teacher. Srila Prabhupada is your teacher. Sudarananda is your teacher because he gives you lessons. So you're attached to certain things that they say, or Jananivas as well. So be attached to them, because by being attached to them, we hear about Krishna. Then be attached to Sri Vrindavan. So whether on this earth or in the spiritual planet, hear about it and become attached to devotees who are residents of Vrindavan. So this is also, you can get to know them in Srimad Bhagavatam, for example. All the devotees on this planet. Why? Because they talk about Krishna, they worship Krishna, they will always remind you of Krishna. To the confidential mantra given by Sri Guru, which is Gayatri mantra, to the holy names of Sri Radha and Krishna, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So become attached to this mantra. And to the process of surrendering to the fresh youthful couple of Raja, which means performing Bhakti Yoga. So please, mind, be attached to that. Indeed, to verse 2. Indeed, do not perform any pious acts prescribed in the Vedas. I will actually. Do not perform any pious acts prescribed in the Vedas and supporting literature, or sinful acts forbidden in them. Staying here in Vraja, please perform profound service to Sri Radha Krishna. O mind, unceasingly remember the son of Sachi as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Sri Guru as the dear servant of Lord Mukunda. So basically, when we're talking about pious and impious activities, we are talking about bad and good karma. So the devotee doesn't want karma. I mean, it's good if you have a good karma. It's bad if you have bad karma, but in the end, we don't want karma. We want akarma, which means nothing that binds us to this world. So good karma will also bind you to this world. So don't perform even pious activities. Don't perform sinful activities. Just perform service to Lord Krishna, which is Bhakti Yoga. And just remember Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's what Raghunath Das Goswami says. Remember Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu because as the second chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita says, they are the same. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So remember them. And also remember Shri Guru as a dear servant of Lord Mukunda. So Guru is the servant of Krishna. Verse 3. Listen, O mind, if you desire in every birth to reside in the land of Raja with loving attachment and to serve the youthful couple of Shri Radha Krishna in close proximity, then clearly remember and offer obeisances to Sri Rupa and his associates in Vrindavan, and to Sri Rupa's elder brother, Sri Sanatana. So Raghunath Das Goswami wants to reside in Vrindavan, which actually at the time when he was on this planet, he was residing there. So he's just telling his mind, like, be here. And for us, we can go there, but to be in Vrindavan also means to be in the state of consciousness of Vrindavan, which means that we are full of love towards Krishna. And then we are actually in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is in the heart and mind. Mind and heart are actually quite the same, and I will explain that next time. It's too big of a topic. So what does he wants to do? He wants to serve Radha and Krishna, and he wants to offer obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, actually 5 Goswamis of Vrindavan, because he's one of the Goswamis. That's why I said 5. But especially to Sri Swarupa, Sri Rupa, and Sanatana Goswami, because they are his teachers. And Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana, they received direct instructions from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And based on these instructions, they wrote books on whose purpose, on whose, I don't know what to say in English, Srila Prabhupada based his purpose on their books. So if you read the books of the Goswamis, Prabhupada mentioned everything. You just have to read it. Understand like what Prabhupada is saying, and you will see how it's connected to the Goswami's books. Verse 4. O mind, abandon the prostitute of mundane talks who plunders all intelligence. So don't talk nonsense and gossip. Do not listen at all the stories of the tigress named Mukti, liberation, who devours all souls. So basically, don't talk about impersonal Brahman. Don't even try to meditate on impersonal Brahman. Because according to the Vedas, if you do that, you're actually killing your own soul. Why? Because soul is individual and the soul is a person. And if you want to merge into some energy, that means the loss of your personality and individuality, which is not natural for the soul because the soul has its own identity. Moreover, also give up attachment to the husband of Lakshmi, Sri Narayan, who only leads one to Vaikuntha. So don't even like follow Lord Narayan and Lord Lakshmi and Goddess Lakshmi, even though that's very nice. I mean, if you do that, you will end up in Vaikuntha's. But for Raghunath Goswami, that's not enough. He wants something more. He wants Radha and Krishna. And if he worships Lord Narayan and Goddess Lakshmi, he won't go where he wants to go. So therefore, he's telling his mind, please, don't go there. So instead, here in Rajas, serve Shri Shri Radha Krishna, who give one the jewel of their own love. So the highest jewel, the biggest jewel, the most valuable jewel is this prema towards the divine couple. Verse 5. While here on the revealed path of devotion, I have been attacked by the hideous gang of lust, who have bound my neck with the troublesome, dreadful ropes of wicked deeds. I have been killed. Cry out piteously like this to the devotees of Sri Krishna, the destroyer of Baka. O mine, they will save you from these enemies. So basically, because we're not pure, we have certain impurities in our heart in the form of lust, anger, greed, envy, and one more, but I forgot. Pride, I guess. And sometimes in performing devotional service or bhakti, we want to surrender ourselves to the Lord. But sometimes we can't because we have these obstacles that are preventing us in our surrender. So therefore, we have to deal with them. But if we cry out to the saints, if we cry out to Lord Krishna to save us, then we can cry out through prayer, through chanting, then we will be saved from these enemies. By chanting, we will be saved because chanting purifies our hearts. Verse 6. O ruffian mind, why do you burn yourself and me, the soul, by bathing in the trickling urine of the great donkey of full-blown hypocrisy and duplicity? Instead, you should always bathe in the ocean of love emanating from the lotus feet of Shri Shri Gandharvika Giridhari, thereby delighting yourself and me. So Gandharvika Giridhari is another name for Radha and Krishna. And he's just praying that we should be honest and straightforward in our spiritual life, and therefore prevent hypocrisy and duplicity. Verse 7. As long as the unchaste, he has metaphors which are a little bit strange, but you'll get the point. As long as the unchaste dog-eating woman of desire for prestige dances in my heart. So basically he calls it this desire like that because he doesn't want it. Like, oh, this desire for prestige is eating me. And therefore he describes her in that way. But then he says that if I have this pride in my heart, how can the chaste and pure lady of love for Krishna touch it? Therefore, mind, you should always serve the incomparable beloved devotee commander of Krishna's army, who will immediately throw out the unchaste woman and establish the pure love, lady of love in your heart. So basically, it means that if you follow your spiritual master and the instructions of your spiritual master, then your pride will be gone. Verse 8. Even though I am a cheater, the Lord's mercy can drive away my inherent wicked nature. Give me the glowing nectar of divine love and inspire my heart with the process to worship Sri Gandharvika. Therefore, mind, with pleading words, you should worship Sri Giridhari here in Vrindavan. So this is like a plea for, please, please, I want to worship them. So nowhere in these verses you can see that, oh, I want to obey the rules and regulations. I want to get up early in the morning and so on. So these are just some things that help us on the way. But what we really want is meditation of Radha and Krishna. And when we pray, we want our hearts to be free from these obstacles and to take shelter of the saints so that we can develop this meditation of the divine couple. Verse 9, O mind, so again he says, meditate on Krishna, the moon of the Vrindavan forest and the Lord of my leader, Sri Radhika. Meditate on Sri Radhika as his most dear object of love. Meditate on Sri Lalita as her incomparable friend. Meditate on Sri Vishakha as the foremost guru distributing the teachings of love. And meditate on Radha Kund and Govardhan as givers of the sight and love of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. So again, you can see the meditation of a pure devotee. Only Radharani and Krishna and whatever is connected with them, I just want to keep in my mind. Verse 10. O mind, offer your worship unto Sri Radhika, the beloved of Lord Hari. She outshines Rati, the wife of Kamadeva. Gauri, the wife of Lord Shiva, and Lila, the potency of Lord Vishnu, by the effulgence of her beauty. She defeats Shachi, the wife of Indra, Lakshmi and Satya, Krishna's wife, by the waves of her good fortune. She defeats the pride of the newly married gopis of Raja, headed by Chandravali, through her power to control Krishna. So sorry. This verse is very important because it talks about Srimati Radharani, and I will have to take a break because I'll be back. Sorry. Sorry about that. Anyway, so to continue, why am I talking so much about this and how Raghunath Das Goswami is meditating and so on? Because that's what Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is doing. And why am I emphasizing the gopis, and especially in this verse, Sri Radhika? Because in the verses that will follow, Radharani will be explained. I mean, it will be explained who is Radharani and why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually took her mood. And this is like the verse in which she's presented as exalted. So many goddesses are mentioned in this verse, but she's higher than all of them. And we will learn how she's higher. That's why this chapter is so high, like it talks about Radharani and wow. So, okay, verse 11. O mind, you should every day drink the 5 nectars: worship, glories, meditation, listening to the divine pastimes, and offering obeisances. And worship Govardhan according to the rules. In this way, follow the instructions of Shri Rupa and obtain the direct service of Shri Shirada Giridhari, who are captivated by the god of amorous love in the company of their associates in Raja. So you can see the 5 nectars here. He is praying for these 5 nectars: worship, glorify, meditate, listen to divine pastimes, and offer obeisances. So that's the process of bhakti. And that's how we can actually obtain the highest love of Godhead, love of Krishna. Verse 12. Becoming a follower of Sri Rupa and his companions, one who with sweet voice loudly recites these 11 supreme verses, which give instructions to the mind, and strives to understand all of their meanings completely, obtains the incomparable jewel of worshipping Shri Radha Krishna in the forest of Gokula. So this is the benediction of reading these verses. And this verse also says that we should become followers of Sri Rupa Goswami and his associates. So Rupa Goswami is one of the principal followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as I have mentioned, and we will also read about it in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he received direct instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wrote books for the future generations, for us, about how to reach love of Godhead. And all these things that we are talking about now are actually described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was summarized by Srila Prabhupada as in a book, Nectar of Devotion, where we can see how he actually presented all the relationships. He even enlisted symptoms one has when experiencing a certain relationship with Krishna. He also described what induces one to feel ecstasy towards Krishna in his relationship, in the sense of if he sees this if he hears that story, if Krishna does this, if Krishna has this quality. So everything is actually very scientifically described in detail in these two books. And Nectar of Devotion is very much connected to this chapter. So maybe we'll talk about it in the future a little bit more. So this is where I will stop. So the point of it all is that in these verses that we now read, Lord Krishna is presenting what attracts him the most. This actually 3 relationships of parenthood, friendship, and conjugal love. And he wants to enjoy it. And he says why. And he also represents it as internal reasons for his appearance 5,000 years ago. And this is very much connected with the internal reasons for appearance of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, because he wants to take the mood of Srimati Radharani. Because all this relationship that we are talking about now are here mentioned to show us their variety and also to glorify the highest one, which is the Parakya Rasa or Madhurya Rasa, the conjugal relationship that one can have with Lord Krishna. And the topmost devotee who establishes such relationship with Lord Krishna is Srimati Radharani. She is the topmost devotee and an example for everyone else. And because Lord Krishna is so fascinated by her and by her love towards him, he wants to taste that sweetness. So therefore he appears as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So hope you were able to follow. If there are any questions, I will answer them in the next session. And also I will also read that question that I got again to maybe answer it, because now I forgot my phone. But I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much for your attention. Hare Krishna.